So, welcome to this talk. My name is Alex, and this talk is for those of you who feel like you are struggling. Now, you may be struggling with addiction, you may be struggling with anger towards others, or anger towards yourself, self-criticism, self-judgment. You may be struggling in a relationship, struggling to find harmony, struggling to forgive someone you once loved, or struggling to allow someone else to forgive you. You may be struggling with any of the myriad problems that present themselves in this life on earth, and there are many, many ways we struggle. Now, essentially, there is one solution to all these many ways that we struggle. And before I go on, I just want to let you know that I myself have struggled, like all of us. I have struggled intensely in my life. I was suicidal in my late teens. I'm 43 years old now, but in my late teens, I was suicidally depressed, and tried ending my life on at least 2 occasions. And the second occasion, I'd taken a handful of sleeping tablets, and I'd drunk a bottle of wine, and I was sitting in my car with the engine running and a hose pipe from the exhaust through the window, pumping fumes into the car. I was hopelessly wanting to die. I just didn't want to live anymore. The pain was too much, and I wanted to die. And obviously, I didn't succeed. And I woke up. I fell asleep, and I woke up in the car, and the engine was still running, and I felt this overwhelming wave of gratitude that I was still alive. And I also had this feeling that I was free, that this life was a gift to me, and I can do what I want. So if I wanted to be completely selfish and just do what made me happy, I could do that. If I wanted to live any possible way, it was my life to decide. And I made a decision when I woke up in the car. It's almost the decision came to me. I didn't consciously think about it. But it was a decision not to feel guilty anymore, just to do what was in my heart, to make the decisions that I felt I wanted to make and not feel guilty about them. Because guilt was crippling me. I was so laden down with guilt, feeling bad about myself, and like I was always doing everything wrong. And so I kind of took myself off the hook. I took myself out of the noose, so to speak, and gave myself permission to live the way I wanted to. But that was 24 years ago. And so I've seen the dark side of life, and I know the dark side. I know fear very well. I've experienced a lot of intense fear. I know the dark side of the human mind. I know the dark side of the human heart from experience. And through the journey of healing that I undertook, or that life took me on, from the age of 18, 19 onwards to this very day, that journey of healing, I've learned where we belong as human beings, where our mind and heart belong, and how we're so lost in our minds. We're so deluded. We're told and educated to believe certain things about life and about ourselves that make us suffer. These beliefs make us suffer. And we are somehow so strict and hard on ourselves. We are so critical of ourselves. Our worst critic is always ourselves, always. And we are very unforgiving of ourselves, and quick to judge, and quick to put ourselves down, insult ourselves. And that's one of the most damaging things in our life, is that voice which berates us, which brings us down, pulls us down, criticizes, judges, condemns us. That voice is the biggest threat in your life, the voice in your mind, which tells you you're not enough, which tells you you're inadequate, which tells you you're not lovable, which tells you you're doing everything wrong, which tells you you can't be forgiven, which tells you that everyone else is judging you. It's a liar. That voice is a liar. And that's one of the biggest problems we all face, is waking up to the fact that this voice is ruling our lives, and it's stealing the joy from our heart, and it's pulling us down into this dark pit because we're listening to that voice. And that voice can speak in many different tones, and it can say many different things, but none of them make us feel good about ourselves. None of them make us feel strong. They all make us feel weak. They all undermine the structure of our being. They all make us feel weak. And so that's a good barometer when you listen, notice yourself talking to yourself and the things that you tell yourself all day long, because we're constantly talking to ourselves and telling ourselves things. And ask yourself, is this voice strengthening me? Is this voice my friend, or is this voice weakening me? And usually that voice is weakening you. So it's very important to be aware of what you're saying to yourself all the time and how it's making you feel. Because the way you feel is what you have to live with every day. You know, some people say that feelings are insignificant, and all that matters is fact, truth, whether it's divine truth or whether it's, some other kind of truth. But feelings are what we are living with. Our feelings, we live with them. We carry them in our body. It's the most influential part of us is what we're feeling, because it's inescapable. You can't escape your feelings. You try and push them down and they'll come back up. You try and run away from them and you'll just be running scared your whole life. You have to face your feelings and you have to accept your feelings. Pay attention to them and say, okay, well, look, I'm feeling this way. Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling worthless? Or why am I feeling scared? Why am I feeling unhappy? Why am I feeling angry? And you know what? It's usually because of the voice we are listening to. It's usually because we are telling ourselves something and believing it, and it makes us feel that way. You know, if you believe everything in the news, you are going to feel afraid. You're going to feel very pessimistic about the future. And our mind just replays everything we've seen or heard, or the stories and all the connected stories, everything that's related, and all the peripheral information that's related to these doom and gloom stories. Our mind just tells them to us over and over again. It's on a repeat. It's on a news loop in our own head. So if you're feeling afraid, it's because you're listening to those thoughts which are giving you a dark picture of the future, or a negative picture of something in your life. Now, these mental perspectives, a lot of which are informed by the media, by the way. You have to be very careful what you watch in the media. But these negative mental perspectives, which drive us to negative behavior, destructive behavior. If there's destructive behavior in life, it's because of a negative mental perspective, something going on in your mind, something you're believing, something you're saying to yourself, something you're thinking over and over again. And we can be free of them. And they distort our view of reality as well. So these negative perspectives, negative voices, negative views of the world, first of all, they blind us to what is real. And when we realize the true beauty of life, and it's not in the things and the experiences, it's the spiritual beauty, the true spiritual beauty, which we feel in our heart. When we realize that, then we'll realize we've been listening to lies all our life. And we'll wonder why we wasted our time believing all the lies when we could have ignored them and accepted the truth in our heart. So I'll tell you what the truth is. These are just words, of course. So it's not really the truth. It's what the truth informs us of. The truth will inform you. When you open up to the truth, it will inform you that you are loved, that you're not doing anything wrong, that you're not a bad person, that you shouldn't feel guilty. Be patient with yourself, to forgive yourself, to seek the light. Don't run away from the light, but seek the light, because it's what you want. The very core of your being, the light is what you want, and it's what will heal you, and it's what will soothe you and take away your pain. Seek the light. Don't run away from it. There is no threat there. You're not going to be showed up for who you are. You're not going to be exposed by the light and all your failings and all your weaknesses. No, the light will heal you. It will repair you. It will fix you. it'll soothe you, it'll reassure you, it will love you. And so it's very important that we reorientate ourselves rather than the life of running away from the threats and running away from the voices and running away from the things we're scared of internally and externally. Instead of running away, run towards that light, that healing, glorious, spiritual light. Because that is what you're looking for. That's actually what you're craving in the depth of your being. And this is why we have so many addictions in our life. Because we're all craving something. And what we're really craving is a release from the dysfunction, a release from the pain, a release from the anguish and the fear. We want to release. But we look in the wrong place for that release. We think that this drug or this person or this activity will give us a release, a break from this anguish, this discomfort, this feeling of being ill at ease. But actually it's the light that does that. It's the light which gives us the relief and the release and the healing that we need. So it's very important that becomes the thing that we orient ourselves towards. It's very, very important. In fact, it's crucial that you orient yourself towards the light and stop running away from the things you fear. Ask for help. Ask for spiritual help because it's there and it will communicate with you. That spiritual presence, that spiritual intelligence will communicate with you and it will show itself to be real if you want to know the truth. If you want to know what's real, then it will show itself to you. If you want to delude yourself so that you can carry on your dysfunction, carry on your life of pleasure-seeking and hedonism, or carry on your life of carnal satisfaction, satisfying the desires of your flesh, whatever they may be, if you want to carry on with that life, then you probably want to stay in the dark in terms of what is true spiritually. You won't want the light because the light will reorient you. It'll make you want to change your life. It'll make you want to change the things you desire, and instead you will want that light. You will want the healing, the love from that light. And so the most important thing I can tell you is to turn towards that light. Communicate with that light because it's intelligence and it can communicate with you personally, and it will if you want it to. So essentially it's that light which heals the darkness in our heart, heals the pain, heals the fear. All of these things come from the darkness in our heart, which is fear, trauma, pain. It will heal them, and it will show you what is real. It will announce itself as reality, and that day will be the happiest day of your life. All the weight will come off your shoulders, all the pain, all the anxiety and anguish will be released from your heart when you realize that light wants to love you, it wants to heal you, and it wants to forgive you. It wants to make you whole, make you better. Now, that may sound very spiritual and airy-fairy, but this is truth. This isn't just a belief system or some belief system. It's not a belief system. It's the spiritual truth of this life on earth. And if you really do want the truth, and if you want the end of your pain and suffering and difficulty and disease, if you want that, then you must turn your mind towards that light. You must. Because anything else is a distraction. Anything else will bring temporary relief, temporary enjoyment, temporary pleasure, temporary sense of everything's okay. But it will be temporary. I guarantee you it will be temporary. Until you recognize that there is darkness in your heart and you need the light to conquer that darkness, you need to accept that light to conquer that darkness. Until you realize that and accept that and choose that, then the darkness will persist. So, what I want more than anything else is that you turn away from the darkness and you realize that the light is there waiting for you.